The movie kicks off with a series of shots that just scream chemistry. I mean, we're talking beakers, tubes, the whole 9 yards. Every step, the mixing, the manufacturing, the shipping, it's all super precise, no room for error, and looks incredibly professional. Then we meet Unsu. She's your classic, sweet, devoted housewife. Totally loves her husband and daughter. But here's the kicker. Her husband is battling some crazy, rare disease. So, basically, Unsu is single-handedly grinding to make ends meet. It's a typical morning for them. They're all gathered around the breakfast table, getting ready for the day ahead. After saying goodbye to her daughter, the mother-daughter duo gets back to their daily routine. Sue is goofing around, seeing who's more scared of mom, when bam, out of nowhere, some dude practically falls from the sky, speeding past Sue and her bestie. He shouts, "Answer your phone. The cops are coming for you. Grab the cash and get out of here. The phantoms are onto me. They're chasing me like crap. I swear, I'm not afraid of the enemy. I'm afraid of my deaf teammates. And wouldn't you know it?" The second this guy finishes his sentence, a whole squad of cops busts in, catching these junkies red-handed. A huge fight breaks out, and after an insane beatdown, they haul all those guys away. One of the officers, cuffs on the junkies, says to our screaming dude, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you." Once he has the junkies all rounded up, holding their student IDs, the cop starts laying into them. "You're both college students? Do your parents know their son's dream of being drug lords?" As he says this, he flicks each of them in the head with his belt, knocking them senseless. Luckily, the money they'd been hustling is still there. But the bad news is, after a thorough search, they can't find any drugs. Turns out, the cops were one step behind. The giant bag of drugs is being clutched by Bong Nam, another young guy, who's in a yellow car, trying to speed away. Right now, he's the one being chased by another gang. Bong Nam's driving skills are, admittedly, pretty slick, but he gets unlucky. The other gang has more cars, and they box him in. The other guys think they've got him cornered. 3 or 4 of them start beating on his car with bats, trying to get Bong Nam to come out. Bong Nam bursts out of the car, and out comes that white bag of stuff along with an axe. He escapes with the drugs with pure confidence, like an absolute badass. Later that day, when Unsu's family comes home, things are far from peaceful and happy like they were that morning. Turns out her husband gambled away everything investing in cryptocurrency and lost it all. No woman could stay calm in that situation. Unsu starts screaming at her husband, with Sue silently watching. "This is the first time I've ever regretted marrying you." After saying that, Unsu leaves and goes to her best friend's house to vent about everything that just happened. She asks if she can crash there for the night. Unsu's friend tells her, "Don't you dare go back home early in the morning to make breakfast. I'm gonna ask about employee loans at the company tomorrow. At least you can get 20 million won for that." Unsu, that's what a true friend is for. Unsu spends the whole night tossing and turning, worrying about her husband and daughter. She doesn't get a wink of sleep. The next morning, she goes back home, and the sight that hits her is her husband just out cold on the floor. Both she and her daughter panic and rush him to the hospital. The diagnosis after the emergency treatment comes back: pancreatic ductal adenocarcinoma, basically pancreatic cancer. The tumor has already spread to the blood vessels around the pancreas, and tragically, the family is told that surgery is out of the question. Hearing that her husband's illness is basically untreatable, Unsu is just numb. She wanders around alone, thinking about everything. She thinks about the loan her friend mentioned, but she can't even get that because her husband has already maxed out all the loans. Right now, Unsu is just hoping for some kind of miracle to happen for her and her family. Even though they've argued, and even though her husband screwed up big time by gambling everything away, Unsu is still totally devoted to him. She works, asks around, borrows, and begs for help from everyone she knows, all with the sole goal of prolonging her husband's life. Their house has even been seized and will be auctioned off in 2 weeks. Now, let's cut back to Bong Nam, who's hiding out in his tiny apartment after his successful escape. He's enjoying the fruits of his labor. Gotta live it up while you can, right? If you're gonna get high for real. Bong Nam even ordered a big bowl of black bean noodles before he went off into space. He's just starting to feel good. Then bam! The music stops, the high ends, and the cops show up. As soon as he opens the door, Bong Nam gets a flying kick from the police officer. He might be high, but his survival instincts are still kicking in. Bong Nam fights back as hard as he can. Although he's getting a beatdown from the cop, the junkie refuses to give up. The guy gets desperate and jumps out of the window to get away. This dude thinks he's Superman. How is this guy still alive? He jumps from the top floor and not only doesn't break his leg, but he even sneaks into Unsu's house while she's on the phone. In a moment of distraction, Unsu trips and almost gets stabbed by Bong Nam. Luckily, the cop shows up and saves her life. While Unsu and the cop are talking outside, Bong Nam manages to steal some clothes that look kinda stylish and blend in with the normal people before running away. Thinner clothes can't hide you from the police's eyes. Just when he thinks he's gotten away, the dude jumps, drawing the police's attention, and the chase starts all over again. Surrounded on all sides, Bong Nam is in full-blown panic mode. He has no idea what's going on, but he turns around, eats a flower pot in the head, and is completely dazed. Bong Nam, time to go home. The whole team jumps in, grabs Bong Nam, and takes him back to the station. Bong Nam is still high as a kite and looks spaced out, but tries to resist until his very last breath. The dude chooses to jump again. This time, though, he's not so lucky. This wannabe Superman gets tangled in some power lines. Even though he's been caught, Bong Nam somehow managed to stash that big bag of drugs at Unsu's house without her even knowing. At this point, if the cops asked him where the rest of the stash was, even God couldn't get an answer out of him. After visiting her husband in the hospital, Unsu starts investigating like some kind of scientist. She tears open the bag, picks up one of those diamond-shaped pills, examines it from every angle, and even tastes it to be sure. It's okay. It must be that, she says to herself, but how the heck did drugs get into my house? The second she says that, the TV shows footage of the police chase from that afternoon. It's a crazy coincidence. And now, Unsu realizes that the bag Bong Nam had is exactly the same as the bag in her house right now. It's only now that Unsu accepts that this is, without a doubt, drugs. In a state of shock and fear, Unsu doesn't hesitate to pick up the phone and call the police. But the news reporter cuts her off. This stash of drugs is worth $200,000. Unsu's face goes blank as she stares at the drugs in front of her. The next day, Unsu goes looking for a new job. But unfortunately, the cook position she applied for is already taken. The only thing available is a janitor position. Whatever. At this point, my husband and daughter come first, Unsu thinks, and accepts the job. From that day on, Unsu became a janitor at a bar. One time, while she's busy working, she overhears two pretty girls talking about someone named James. She has no idea what that means. Then, by chance, Unsu goes to clean a room, and a man in a black suit appears. You idiots! In a moment as crucial as this, what the hell are they doing? The black-suited man looks really serious. Just seeing him makes Unsu hide behind a chair. Then, Unsu realizes that this guy is James, the person the two girls mentioned earlier. Right in front of Unsu is a drug deal happening out in the open. A scene that she thought only happened in movies, but now she's witnessing it in real life. After her shift, Unsu goes to visit her husband in the hospital, but he's not there. Because he's so stressed and pressured about making his wife and daughter suffer, he thought the only solution was to end his own life. Sitting on the roof looking down, he turns back to look at his wife one last time. You know, I also regret marrying you. If it weren't for me, you could have lived a better life. I didn't realize I'd become the person who took away all your happiness. After saying that, Unsu's husband starts to jump. But life doesn't always go the way you want it to. At the moment he decides to jump, everyone around him, his wife, the nurses, the doctors, and even the police grabs his hand and pulls him back, successfully saving him from his crazy decision. You won't lose anything. I'll protect everything. So you just need to stay by my side. You just need to live. If I don't have you, me and our daughter truly lose everything. Before diving in, Unsu tells Sue, go back to school and keep pursuing your passion for drawing. Mom can handle this, trust me. They look at each other with eyes full of hope. Meanwhile, back at Unsu's workplace, some hot dude tall, built, driving a BMW is talking on the phone and gradually walks into the bustling bar. In the bar's bathroom, Unsu bravely goes to meet James alone. She pulls out a black plastic bag, but the guy misunderstands and thinks she's trying to offer her body to him. So, Unsu fights back, and they both start throwing punches. Seriously, this tall, strong dude is hitting an old woman? What a wimp. Luckily, the BMW driver shows up to save the day. Otherwise, Unsu would have been toast. Something unexpected is going on here. When Unsu turns to see who saved her, her jaw drops to the floor. She's in total shock, and from that moment on, she can only cover her face and turn away. From this conversation, she instantly figures out who the real James is and who's the fake. The other guy leaves, and now it's just Unsu and James in the room. James picks up the black plastic bag, hands it back to Unsu, leaves a card, and walks off to his BMW. James has a feeling he's being followed. With his years of experience, James successfully shakes off the person tailing him. This is where things get even crazier. Don't you recognize me, Sue's mom? It's not what you think. A friend of mine owns the club, so I came to help for a bit. At this point, there's no turning back. Unsu makes a bold announcement. I want to work with you. She opens the black bag, and inside are the drugs. After the fateful meeting in the parking lot between the parent and the teacher, Mr. Kyung brings Unsu to his house, which is also where he's built his empire. While Mr. Kyung is checking out the new stuff Unsu brought before making a deal, Unsu accidentally gets a peek at Mr. Kyung's cool, high-tech room. Mr. Kyung is equally surprised. I never imagined I'd meet a parent like you. Where did you get this? I've never seen this kind before. I need more information, because I don't want to buy something with an unknown origin. Unsu feels like the teacher is trying to play mind games with her. She gets angry and decides to leave, not wanting to work together anymore. Once you're in, you can't just get out, especially when you both know each other's weaknesses. Sit down. Let's talk business. We need a contract. After that, they both sit down and start planning their crazy venture at the Phantom's hideout. After losing the drugs, Q-Man is furious. He drags his two useless subordinates and starts grilling them. That kind of drug is much higher quality than your usual garbage. They're specially made to sell to VIPs with absolute purity, and Bong Nam and your group stole it, then got caught before they even hit the market. While he is already stressed, his big subordinate says, "Who ordered Bong Nam to take the goods? It's the boss, right? Who else can we blame?" As soon as he finishes his sentence, Hyun's pinky finger says goodbye. Not only that, but the chubby subordinate, Jun Hyun, also gets beaten so badly that he completely loses his mind. Q-Man gives Hyun one last chance to redeem himself. Find the drugs or the chunky sidekick, Jun Hyun takes the fall. Talk about pressure. Let's get back to the negotiating table with our unlikely duo, the teacher and the parent. After drawing up the contract, Mr. Kyung makes Unsu recite it on camera. He is not happy with the deal, so he says, "I'll agree to one condition, if the profits are split in my favor. I need a bigger cut." After both parties agree to the revised agreement, as Unsu leaves, Mr. Kyung wants to know the name of this new product. He has never seen anything that is quality and pure like this. Unsu stammers, makes up a name on the spot, and from then on, the new drug is called vodka. After seeing Unsu off, the teacher turns back to his busy schedule. Next on the list is Mimi's birthday party with VIP guests. He analyzes that all the guests are the kids of big shots and powerful people, so he needs to treat them well to make bank. However, he is worried about taking a risk with the new product Unsu provides. The day of Mimi's birthday party arrives, and it's clear she's got influence. The party's crawling with hot guys and gorgeous girls, all glued to their phones. They're non-stop selfie posting on social media. The hottest table is the party owner's, Mimi, where all the big shots are hanging out. When James arrives, Mimi introduces him. The white shirt is C&J, the Vice Minister of Justice's grandson. The black shirt is W.H.I. Rim, director of a huge corporation. After the introductions, they started taking phones. Before the fun begins, they take the phone away from C&J. They can't anger Director Kong. Ditching the phone means they're playing for real, going all out, doing crazy things. "James, I finally meet you. I have heard so much about you. I actually know a friend of yours. Please take it easy on him. He is just a young man." James just smirks, snaps his fingers, and the party officially begins. The show starts when a group of dancers and hot girls get here to entertain the rich people. The atmosphere has been turned up, and now James starts offering everyone a little treat he just brought, drugs inside a candy. Of course, the center is the banned substances. After just a few doses mixed with wine, the girls are going wild. And Unsu is scared of what young people do in a club. The guys are having a blast enjoying. Meanwhile, the two police officers are having a hard time. They are eating just plain bread and keep monitoring the club for some leads. We've searched everywhere and found nothing. Now we have to search places where there's a high chance drugs are hiding. Do you understand? Trouble starts brewing when Minwoo gets way too eager after just a few minutes in. Seeing Mimi looking fine as hell, the dude's been pacing around, unsure whether to run out and hug her tight, but then the dude takes it and just jumps in and hugs her in front of his pal before a few other people could even react. Seeing his girlfriend being groped by his friend, WHI Rim loses it and grabs an ashtray, ready to smash the guy's head. "I'll handle him," James whispers in WHI Rim's ear, stopping WHI Rim, and then the bouncers drag the psycho outside to Kim's inhumane laughter. WHI Rim's friend gets thrown into the corner by the bouncers like a feather, without even knowing what's happening. Did you know that real killers act before they speak? Just like me. As James says this, he grabs a beer bottle and smashes it over the dude's head, knocking him into another universe. James leaves, unaware that Unsu, hiding behind, saw the whole fight. Unsu is really scared, because she never thought that someone as kind as herself, loving her husband and kids, would have to be involved in these kinds of scenes. The dude that James smashed is really pissed, but he's too much of a coward to do anything but stand up, cursing and wrecking things when no one's looking. Unsu sees everything. "What the hell are you looking at? You old cleaner. You made me get in trouble with James. I paid a lot to get in, but it's all because of you," the dude says, grabbing a bottle, planning to cause trouble. This guy's thoughts and actions are totally immoral. Unsu grabs an electric stun gun. No dude is trying to play around. She stabs him 1 or 2 times, so mad that he's lost on every front. The dude hops in his Audi and drives off. Then bam, he gets in an accident right away because he forgot not to drink and drive. Police show up at the scene, including Taegu, and find the car with a bag full of the same drugs that the department is investigating, so the officer orders the team to search the whole vehicle. Seeing the danger, Unsu runs inside to warn James. Unsu is old, so she can't push her way through, shouting "Run now" in the club. After a short period of time, she sees that James has seen the police already. Then, James pulls out his phone. "Yo bro, is your place open tonight? I'll rent out your whole bar and pay you double. Clear out the tables and set them up. If I can't get away like this, it would be crazy." After the call with his friend, James leads the rich kids out, with the police officer chasing close behind. Because of their badge, the police successfully take over the camera room, so it's easier to tail the suspects. After every few steps, the cop gets directions from his staff. But too bad for the police, James is too professional. Before the cops even make it to the camera room, Unsu and James have cooperated perfectly. Unsu takes the stairs up and switches the room numbers, giving the police a big surprise and successfully helping the rich kids escape. After their first venture at the bar, they go back to the Phantom's hideout. The duo now has all this money that Kyung had to go use a money counter. After counting all that money, they are shocked. Kyung shares some with Unsu, telling her to bring a ton of customers like that, who love what they did. As such, he'll want to get more supplies, or she can give all that she has and sell it to him in person. When Unsu leaves, Kyung gets a call and a message from his client. "We need to meet in person." After the call, Kyung and his client have a private meeting as secure as a mafia meeting. When Kyung realizes it is Phantom's Dong-hyun. On this, he goes into his lair and goes from teacher-like to evil. The meeting is about the merchandise. When he gets home, he looks at them under a microscope. Now, to get to the main girl, Unsu. She gets her paycheck from the job. With what's left of her money, she helps send her daughter off with new stuff, and she can help pay for her husband's surgery. When she gets to work, she sees Hyun, and she knows he will be here to create problems. EP3 returning to Unsu's husband after 2 weeks of treatment. There was no positive response. Instead, it was worse than the beginning when the cancer metastasized too quickly. The husband who loves his wife and children still cannot adapt to the current anti-cancer drug. The doctor would be better off switching to immunocancer drugs. But this drug is not covered by Korean insurance, making Unsu laugh like a harvest. The doctor probably thought Unsu was crazy. Back at that happy home, since Mr. Park left, Unsu had to manage all the work in her family. She had to fix every little thing in the family. At the restaurant, Q-Man was cooking for the couple who went together. They thought it was number 10. Jun Hyun really wanted to eat, but when he turned to look at the number 1 Hyun brother, who was injured and being asked by Q-Man, Jun Hyun timidly picked it up and put it down, losing his appetite. After all her efforts to find Hyun, she has strengthened her trust and confidence from Q-Man, who continuously assigned tasks to Hyun, making him think until his fever did not subside. Switch to Unsu. She is calling a technician to repair the water heater. The technician came and gave her a price of 20 million. Unsu's work is also beneficial when the online shopping era has come. Rarely does anyone go shopping directly anymore, but Ms. Van is determined in her thinking that shopping directly is still better. Sadly, she still encounters Myun. Each of her words is like a contempt for her poor family. It's true that rich people hack translation. James is watching and reviewing the terms of the contract with Unsu. The phone call comes from Kong, probing the words of wanting to go out together. But the main thing is that he wants him to bring toys at any time so he can have fun with his friends, making him embarrassed in front of his brothers. Sue, because the family did not have enough money to repair the hot water heater, forced her to take a cold shower in the cold winter. Unsu found her child, like that, found a life jacket from elementary school for Sue, although Sue seemed to dislike it in her heart. But because of the current family situation, Sue accepted it and went to school right after her daughter left. Unsu immediately received a text message from her to pay and register for a quick legal plan. Unsu felt so insecure that she even kicked the unconscious cat that Unsu usually fed. All the drug-related cases this time were handled by Taegu, a famous police officer. After that wild night, the story of the bar dealing was revealed after a period of investigation and analysis of some of the items that were revealed. James was also given an unexpected designation and was put into the highest interface situation. Warning Taegu. Even though he was invincible and couldn't catch the criminals, he was still calm and composed. Chun, after zooming in, was considered the trump card of the mission. But this time, Taegu really brought disappointment to the whole team. If this mission ended like that, his police career would also end. Indeed, the brother often has a disability. The fish is the chopping board. Not only can't catch the criminal, but also goes to catch his ex-wife because the child doesn't see him. He really has to suffer at the hospital. Unsu's beloved husband is passionate. She can't find a way to work. Unsu is angry with the nurse, but the result is still not stable. Sadly goes for a walk thinking about her husband. She also caught the scene of her best friend joking and loving with her husband. Wishing to do nothing. It's true that whoever loves more loses. But things are not. Unsu thinks her best friend is a good person when the two talked. The broker friend gave Unsu some gifts for the mother and child to nourish. This trip Unsu is suspicious of good people. Taegu is interrogating the dude who faked being a wealthy heir. The guy starts off arrogant, but it doesn't last when Taegu pulls out his signature move. After the guy talks about his background, Taegu gets to the point, wanting to know who brought the drugs that day. The guy freaks out and finally reveals that it was James. Sue still wears that old life jacket to school. Feeling uneasy, her friend pulls out 2 tissues for her. Then she wants to show the teacher Sue's sketches, but Sue refuses. To top it off, the friend sitting next to Sue finds a hole in the life jacket, making Sue blush and feel ashamed. The whole class laughs at her, so she takes off the jacket and shoves it into her bag. Her clothes begin to burst throughout the classroom. Unsu's out at the market when she runs into Myun again. She sneers and hands Unsu a card, telling her to buy her daughter a nice winter jacket. Getting taunted by the parent of your kid's friend at the market is just about the worst kind of shame. Unsu is furious. Unsu cranks the engine, but the car won't start. Luckily, Hyun helps her out. He drives her all the way home, so sweet. Then he even fixes the water pipe. To repay Hyun, Unsu offers him some food and asks for a ride to the train station. She kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Meanwhile, James is calling Hyun. Frustrated, he ends up talking to Sue, and the two decide to head home together. When they get to her place, Unsu is just coming back from buying a new jacket for her daughter. Seeing James give her daughter a ride, she runs over and asks, "Why are you in that man's car?" Even though they're partners in crime, they still have to act like they don't know each other in front of Sue. Also, by chance, in the area where Unsu and her daughter live, James figures out who took the missing drugs. Unsu doesn't know she's being watched, so she has Sue try on the jacket to kind of make up for what's happened with her. Unsu tells Sue not to get in a stranger's car without permission and that Sue is still underage. Is he a criminal? Are you worried that you will get arrested? Unsu ignores that comment and decides to take them to a different place for them to go and hang out. Sue quickly finds out the cost. They tell her the other studio is 3x more expensive, and she turns it down. Unsu wants her not to see the man anymore because of how she treats him, but her money is the issue. Unsu goes to James and asks when he's going to start selling the drugs. "I am sitting on 10 kilos, how am I going to pay my bills? The whole family is waiting on me out here." James turns and flips the paper over. Here is the problem. There is no contract. Confused, James shows her the new product. Turns out it was a part of a load that his crew lost. Unsu still didn't understand why her goods were similar to Phantom's new goods. Then he explained that the goods were Phantom's, stolen by Unsu, and James also had a part in it. Unsu's jaw drops. She's completely stunned. She can't believe her eyes. This stuff is being hunted by everyone, including the cops. You've ruined my life, you old bat, she thinks. A guy like James, living in this world, doesn't take chances. He decides to call the shipment boss to resolve the issue. Unsu overhears and goes ballistic. They struggle over the phone as he makes the call. The phone gets smashed. James asks, icy cold, "You really want to die?" That one sentence is enough to make Unsu drop to her knees, begging for forgiveness. James lays down the law. Unsu has to return all the drugs she stole. Meanwhile, back at the bar, where Rin works, Taegu, her brother, is poking around, investigating. Back to Unsu. She's still kicking herself for losing the drugs because if she didn't have them, her family would not be okay. James hears this and nearly calls the boss. Unsu throws out another idea. He can sell that stuff. She tells him how to sell the whole thing over the phone without breaking James's golden rule. Unsu continues to discuss the need for change in the way they sell. James sees the potential, but there's a catch. He doesn't want to cheapen the product. This isn't something you sell online or at the market. The original deal also included a clause. Someone had to take responsibility for the source. After a meeting at the old mentor's house, Unsu goes back to her job selling stuff at the supermarket. Like a rat running around with its food, she planned to steal from the register, but was caught by the manager. The words of James echo in her head. If you get the bag of drugs to me by 6 a.m. tomorrow, I'll ignore the theft. She also realizes how her husband feels, and maybe it's better to die rather than be in the middle of life and death. Unsu decides to give the drugs back to James. She puts them in a locker at the train station. James then takes the bag to a drop-off at the train station. But too bad for James. The bar owner works with the cops to set a trap to track James. Those Korean cops can get inspired sometimes. They follow the signal and find the location at the train station. James is a little worried, but he can't chicken out now. Suddenly, his senses go on full alert. He looks around and realizes there's a trap here. He makes a run for it. His skills are so good, he dodges the Phantom crew as they follow. No matter how hard they swing clubs and bat, he still slips through, escaping like a pro. In the process, the drugs spill out. He stops to grab some, takes a bite, and realizes it's fake. As he runs, he curses Unsu. That old witch. I've pulled off tons of deals, and I get tricked by her. Unsu, meanwhile, calmly brings the real drugs to the police station. She plans to bring James down with her. If she can't achieve her goals, she'll take him down with her. This time, they both will die. A simple but bitter ending is like a snap of fingers that puts out all the hope in the night. Unsu is now a proper bank teller, with a smooth tongue and a pretty face. An old man with white hair throws a savings book at her. But it turns out he threw the book to prepare for his words, "You scoundrel scammers. Shut up and give me the money." Despite getting hit by a savings book on the head, along with all the insults, she still tries to introduce the next savings plan without any fear of the old man shouting or a savings book flying through the wind. The old, white-haired man still doesn't believe what Unsu is saying. How dare you try to trick me again? But Unsu stays cool, showering him with sweet talk and giving him those doe eyes, full of love. The old man is tough, though. He refuses to fall for her charms, declaring, "I'm not interested. I don't care." What he doesn't realize is that he's an old geezer who's spending way too much money. That's all Unsu needs to get the old man to sit down, losing all his imposing presence from when he was trying not to get lured into her honey trap. He blankly stares at her, speechless. Right after her friend praises her cool head, we cut to Unsu chasing someone with a brick. Back to that night, she'd brought the drugs to the police station, hesitating between turning them in or not. James drives over, calling Unsu, ready to accept her deal. He's scared she'll snap and hand the drugs over to the cops, which would send him to prison for life. Unsu just wants to hear James say yes. She leaves the police station with the bag. Basically, only drugs can bother James. He races over and screeches to a halt in front of Unsu, probably scared she'd do something crazy, and immediately drags her under a bridge. He opens Unsu's bag and sees nothing but rags. Anyone would be pissed. A big shot like James being put in danger by a housewife. After a few words, Unsu lays down the law. 200 million won for my husband's medical bills, and 186 million won for our mortgage. Take care of those bills and the rest of the goods are yours. He still doesn't believe her, so he brings up the contract, saying her daughter will see the video of their deal if she double-crosses him. Unsu has been rolling with James, learning the characteristics of drug addicts. Going from the supermarket to a batting cage to talk about making money on the side, he's shocked by her financial skills. Do you have a computer in your head? After getting on the phone, Unsu gets a crash course from James in the drug dealing biz. Like, she barely touches the stuff and leaves fingerprints everywhere. James freaks out, wants to toss it, but has to suck it up because that's the deal. They're partners now. James even gives Unsu some pointers because she's green when it comes to hustling. You gotta be a slick, two-faced fox to make money. Everything seems cool, and then the school principal walks by. From the outside, it looks like a parent-teacher conference, but nobody knows it's a massive drug deal. Meanwhile, Taegu is practicing his fighting moves at the police station. He's a master, but he loves messing with newbies, making them scream. You're going too far. Taegu doesn't care. While he's fighting, a young cop invites him to watch some tape. The tape clearly shows James and Unsu making a drug deal at the train station. After watching, he's shocked. He must have figured something out. Taegu and his team go to question Mimi, hoping to convince her to spill the beans. But nah, he threatens her with a drug test, but Mimi throws back. Got a warrant? Unsu still doesn't trust James, so she brings a stun gun, just in case. Today, he wants her to try out selling, telling her, I know you brought a stun gun. Because of her job, Unsu still has to work her side hustle. She's new to this, inexperienced, and gets yelled at by James a lot, so she's a little bummed. Packing the goods, though, she's got that down. She's so confident she's got that covered. No wasted moves. Everyone gets what they want without raising any suspicion. Limping Minwoo gets snatched by some thugs, taken back to their lair. They beat the crap out of him. No matter what they ask, he doesn't know where James is or what his name is. Finally, Q-Man uses the strong arm tactic, breaking his teeth. Then Minwoo cracks. That kind of stuff you're looking for? I saw it being sold on an app, I swear. The biggest problem for this drug-dealing duo is that they can't deal in cash, and bank transactions are too risky. But she hasn't met James, as managing money is his job. He requires all transactions to be processed via Bitcoin. No one can find them. This led to a successful way of withdrawing money under different names. This helps both parties earn a lot of money, but it's not enough for James because their earnings are slow. Also, Unsu hasn't passed the test, making her feel like it's her fault. Unsu's best friend is Beck, and she visits Park all the time, caring for him like a girlfriend, even cleaning his pipes for him. But the second Park mentions, I'm the lucky one for having Unsu, Beck's attitude turns sour. Unsu is still trying to make money from her 65 million won deal. She refuses to listen to James's advice. She thinks she's got a perfect plan, but nope. The buyers show up with backup, ambushing her when she comes to check the money, trying to figure out who's selling the high-quality stuff. You can't have your cake and eat it too, wanting the drugs and the money. Unsu gets so scared. She keeps dropping the price. Then they pull out a gun, scaring the crap out of her. In the end, they leave her with a single bill and drive off. Unsu looks pathetic as she chases after them, yelling. Unsu intended to quit the game, but an anonymous text message suddenly appeared, making her restless. Every day, Unsu lives in fear and worry and has to turn to James to find a solution together. James realizes that on the day he and Unsu knocked So Hyun unconscious, there was a mysterious person sitting in the alley, monitoring every move of the two. James suspects this mysterious person is likely someone they know. Unsu immediately thinks of the mother of her daughter's classmate, who had a conflict with her. James suggests that both quickly prepare 100 million won in cash to stabilize the mysterious person first, and then gradually investigate his identity and expose him. Hearing the task of preparing 100 million won, Unsu is extremely angry. Although they have been cooperating for a long time, she is the one who earns the least money. She also bears the huge medical expenses of her husband and has long run out of money. Unsu intended to ask James to help her raise 100 million won, but was surprised to find that James could not withdraw his money either. Unsu couldn't understand how James could spend so much money so quickly. James has his own troubles. He changes the subject and suggests the two go back to their old job to quickly make money. In desperation, Unsu takes out a charred bag. It turns out that she had just decided to retire from the game and intended to burn all the money and illegal drugs. But after receiving the threatening message, she quickly pulled these things out of the burning fire. What makes Unsu collapse is that the money has been burned to ashes, but the drugs are intact. She helplessly lies on the ground, resenting why life always pushes her to the edge. Selling drugs again becomes her only escape. After returning to the old job, a large order from the sky arrived with a quantity of 30 grams. To minimize risks, Unsu doubled the price. Taking advantage of the time when her daughter was sound asleep, Unsu sneaked into the supermarket to pack drugs. She accidentally saw the blood stain that So-hyun left behind when he was kidnapped. A sadness rises in her heart, tears constantly falling. Unsu blames herself for So-hyun's death. In fact, from the day So-hyun joined the Phantom Organization, his death was destined. The boss of this organization disguises his hideout as a restaurant, specializing in recruiting unemployed people to work here as part-time drug delivery staff. The boss promises these people that as long as they find a full-time job, they will let them leave. But in reality, that's just a trick to cover up the drug trafficking. On the surface, the boss appears generous in allowing employees to leave, but secretly silences them to cover their mouths. No one can survive leaving the Phantom Organization. So-hyun, because life was too difficult, naively believed in the boss's play. He not only joined himself but also dragged his only brother in. One day, when Unsu was working at the supermarket as usual, the mother of her daughter's classmates suddenly appeared, her words full of sarcasm and mockery. Unsu, who was already tense, heard the hidden meaning in the other person's words and suspected that that was the mysterious person. She panicked and quickly reported the news to James. The fact that the person is the mother of her daughter's classmate makes Unsu extremely uneasy. She fears that her daughter, Sue, will be subjected to unfair treatment and even have her future ruined because of her mistakes. James doesn't understand why the mother would do that. According to him, she is not short of money. 100 million won is just a small amount for her. But Unsu asserts that she is the mysterious person, believing that her purpose is not money, but to force her to pay 100 million won each week, forcing her to continue selling drugs in order to keep her in her grasp, manipulating her. James asks Unsu if there are any other suspicious targets. At this time, Unsu tells him that Taegu and a young police officer came to her house to investigate her relationship with James. James is furious that Unsu is only now telling him something so important. He scolds Unsu for not being cooperative and putting them both in danger. Unsu's long-accumulated dissatisfaction explodes. She believes that she has only been working for James all along. Moreover, James pushed all the risks and consequences onto her alone. Faced with criticism, James also no longer maintains his polite appearance. His life is already a mess. He has to use drugs to control his enemies and make money for his brother to buy shares to prepare for revenge. He can't tell Unsu these secrets, so he has to bear them alone. The two have a big fight and finally break up unhappily. Not long after, Doojin's cancer treatment is about to end. Unsu doesn't dare to delay and quickly packs up Doojin's belongings to prepare for discharge. Doojin can tell at a glance that Unsu is worried. He recalls what his best friend told him, that Unsu went to Sue's teacher's house to work as a helper, so he worries that his wife is in trouble and presses her to answer. Unsu doesn't know how to lie. Just then, James calls, and she excuses herself to answer the phone. But because she is so panicked, she drops the pile of clothes she just folded. Doojin immediately understands that Unsu is hiding a secret from him, but when he thinks back to his previous actions, he feels that he has no right to question her. Meanwhile, James spends no money and asks around to investigate information about the mysterious person. By comparing information from mobile phone base stations, he narrows down that the mysterious person often appears near the police station. Following the clues, James discovers that the young police officer is the most suspicious person. This young police officer not only has a heavy financial burden on his family, but his father is also seriously ill and needs a huge amount of treatment money. He also discovers that the young police officer is not only a police officer but also an informant for the boss of the Phantom Organization. After the police caught the boss, the case should have been closed. But the young police officer, who knows the whole truth, is not willing to let this new drug easily fall into Unsu's hands. He tries to persuade Taegu to continue the investigation, citing that there are many suspicious points in the case. Taegu takes a tough stance, asking him to quickly submit the case closing report. As for the whereabouts of the new drug, just report to the outside that it has been sold abroad. Unable to disobey his superiors, but still unconvinced, the young police officer secretly meets with the boss of the Phantom Organization. On James's side, to catch the young police officer, He sets a trap to lure the snake out of the hole. But unexpectedly, the person who appears at the transaction point is Taegu. Meanwhile, the mother of Sue's classmate is actively promoting the installation of cameras in the parent meeting. For her, only by proving that Sue is a thief can she truly win against Unsu. Every word she says falls into Unsu's ears with a different meaning. She doesn't dare to refute in the crowd, fearing that in the next second, she will release evidence that she is a drug dealer. Taking advantage of the other mother's break, Unsu follows closely. When she sees the other mother take out the photos on her phone to threaten her, Unsu kneels down humbly, begging for forgiveness. But thinking back to her aggressive attitude, pushing people to the wall before, she understands that even if she kowtows and begs, the other party will not let her go. So, she grabs the ashtray, intends to hit her, snatch the phone, and run away. In Unsu's head at that moment, there is only one thought: absolutely cannot reveal the secret of selling drugs. However, what she didn't expect was that in the other mother's phone, there was only a photo of James taking her home when she was drunk, and there were no photos of her and James transporting So-hyun's body. It's only at this moment that Unsu realizes that the mother is not the mysterious person. James shockingly discovers that the real mole in the Phantom organization is not the young police officer, but Taegu himself. Taegu originally had flaws in his personality and has repeatedly used violence in the line of duty. Even after being sued in court many times, he still doesn't change. His wife and children have alienated him. Although he has unwavering faith, sacrificing his family to catch the drug dealers, only a few days later, they are released from prison safely. His colleagues feel extremely indignant, and Taegu's heart gradually changes. He hates this unjust world and resents that his hard work is not rewarded accordingly. From that moment on, he believes that money is the measure of fairness and the way to survive in this world. James accidentally discovers his secret and realizes that the person who stabbed So-hyun to death was Taegu. He believes that the combination of a teacher and a housewife is perfect and highly secretive. As long as he controls these two people, he will have an endless source of money. So, he threatens James and Unsu, asking the two to pay him 100 million won every week. In return, he will become the most reliable protective umbrella for them. He even knows James's feud with Chairman Kong and understands that James's core purpose in doing these reckless things is to get revenge. Under James's meticulous plan, Chairman Kong, after using the high-purity drug, began to hallucinate, constantly seeing countless cockroaches rushing towards him. He even lost control in the shareholders' meeting, stabbing his hand with a fountain pen. The shareholders are all in a panic. Someone intentionally recorded his abnormal behavior and spread the news that the heir of the group has signs of drug shock. The share price of Kong Group plummeted. James appeared at the right time, and Chairman Kong, who only has the craving for drugs in his eyes at this time, completely obeys James's words. On the other hand, although Unsu realized that the mother was not the mysterious person, she discovered that she was also using the drug she sold. Before she could use the ashtray to hit her, the mother fell to the ground, convulsing because of a drug overdose. In a panic, Unsu hurriedly took away the remaining drugs and ran away from the scene. After finally calming down, Unsu returned home and saw her best friend enthusiastically preparing a lavish dinner for her husband and daughter. This scene makes her feel extremely dazzling. For this house, she had to risk her life, struggling to survive outside, never thinking that her house would face the risk of being occupied by others. The news that the mother used drugs has spread to everyone. The husband, who is a professor, feels that he has lost all faith. Unsu has appeared on time and agreed with the mother of her daughter's classmate. She will help her deal with the drugs and the phone. As long as the police don't find the phone, they will never know the origin of the drugs and, of course, can't convict her. Hearing Unsu's well-thought-out plan, the mother has to look at her with different eyes. Unsu immediately goes to find James, warning him that the young police officer has noticed the mother's drug use and has begun to investigate. Following this clue, finding the two of them is only a matter of time. She suggests stopping the drug sales immediately. James asks for the name of the young police officer. Unsu keenly feels that the mysterious person may be someone in the police industry. Faced with Unsu's suspicion, James seems hesitant. According to Taegu's plan, Unsu is eliminated as an insurance plan for James and him. Taegu has asked James to find a way to trick Unsu into keeping the drugs, so that once everything is exposed, all the blame will be put on her. In the end, James decides to follow Taegu's suggestion, hiding from Unsu the fact that he has found the mysterious person. Unsu is confused and afraid because of this person's existence. As long as the mysterious person has not been found, they are still in danger. The two argue endlessly about this. With a tough attitude, James orders Unsu, saying that she has no choice. The only thing Unsu can do is obey James's words, change the packaging of the drug, and create a new sales strategy. Having no other choice, Unsu has to comply. But this time, her heart has changed. At first, she sold drugs to save her family, but gradually she found that since embarking on this path, her life was becoming more and more distant from happiness. Too many secrets are hidden in her heart and can't be revealed, and her attitude towards her family gradually becomes irritable, with no tolerance. Every day she lives in fear and anxiety. One day, Unsu accidentally runs into James while driving out. Curious, she follows him. She finds James and a few men coming out of a large building. After a little research, Unsu realizes that these people are not ordinary, including an investment advisor and the son of a construction group. At the same time, Unsu also discovers that James has a close relationship with Kong. Recalling the relationship chart in James's house, Unsu guesses that everything James did is related to Kong. Because of her uneasiness, Unsu has been constantly making mistakes, eventually making the supermarket manager angry and being fired. The young police officer has always felt that things are not as simple as they seem. He personally went to interrogate the boss of the Phantom organization. At first, he did not cooperate at all, until the young police officer brought out the picture of So-hyun. He was willing to sit down and talk. He is also curious about who made him get arrested. As the young police officer's investigation goes deeper, he gets closer to the truth. Taegu tries to stop him from continuing to pursue, but the young police officer overturns the previous investigation results, believing that the person who spread the new drug was not So-hyun at all. The young police officer's stubbornness makes Taegu decide to eliminate him, but on the surface, he pretends to agree to let him continue the investigation. Unaware of the impending danger, the young police officer is still happy to have the approval of his superiors, so he works even harder to investigate. Taegu originally thought that as long as he earned enough money to buy back the old house, he could reconcile with his wife and everything would return to normal. Unexpectedly, when he stood in the rain waiting to meet his wife and children, the scene he saw was that there was another man next to his wife. Learning that his wife has a plan to take his son abroad to live, Taegu is furious. To win custody of his son, he needs to have housing and savings. So, he must prepare all the relevant supporting documents before his wife completes the departure procedures. Taegu decides to speed up the sale of drugs, informing James that from now on, he must transfer 200 million won into his account on time every week, with no discussion. In another scene, thanks to his outstanding performance, James is about to bring huge profits to the family. After 10 years, his brother invites him home for dinner for the first time. Although they are blood relatives, James's mother seems extremely awkward. Even the gift that James had carefully prepared for her, she didn't know if she should accept it. Throughout the meal, his mother always had a panicked look, as if James were a god. Accidentally touching James's hand, she flinches and pulls her hand back immediately. Seeing the atmosphere becoming more and more awkward, she excuses herself to leave. His father takes out good wine, wanting to have a few drinks with James. His brother pats James on the shoulder with a meaningful look, as if to comfort him. James understands that he has not been accepted by this family. When he gets up to leave, he accidentally hears his mother's inner thoughts. She can't accept James because he used to be a murderer. James feels extremely complicated, but pretends that nothing happened and calmly leaves. Recalling what his brother said about needing to quickly collect 200 million won to buy the last shares. While Taegu is also waiting for the money like a hungry tiger, James decides to sacrifice Unsu. He disregards the risk, asking her to quickly spread the drugs to make money. Unsu realizes that she has been caught in a huge conspiracy and refuses to sit and wait for death. So, she cuts off all contact methods, taking the drugs to find Kong. To reverse the situation, she has to grasp James's weaknesses. When Taegu angrily questions James about why he didn't deliver the money on time, Unsu calmly appears in front of the two. She had long seen through all the conspiracies. Taegu still brazenly demands money from Unsu. Unsu only feels ridiculous. This money is earned by her bearing great risks. Why should she give it to others for nothing? Three partners with their own purposes finally face each other with their true faces. However, even though Unsu had planned ahead, finding a way to survive, she didn't expect that Sue to earn money to help her family, had become a member of the drug delivery ring. Faced with Taegu, Unsu shows no fear. He demands that Unsu hand over the money quickly. Unsu glanced and recognized that he needed money urgently. Her mentality instead became calm. Both Taegu and James want her to bear all the risks alone, while they sit and enjoy the fruits of her labor. That is completely impossible. Being hit where it hurts, Taegu angrily intends to take action against Unsu. Unsu immediately warns that if she doesn't leave safely in 10 minutes, someone will call the police. This makes him not dare to act rashly. Unsu's one stone two birds move has completely suppressed the police officer and also made James give up the idea of turning her into a scapegoat. James knows he has treated Unsu unfairly and wants to explain, but she doesn't want to hear a word. She has been completely disappointed in James. He is the one who knows her family situation and difficulties the most, but still doesn't hesitate to turn her into a scapegoat. One day, Chairman Kong warns James, asking him to deliver the drugs as soon as possible. James has always held the drug distribution channels in his hands, so even if Chairman Kong is used to being arrogant, he has to be wary of him. Unsu actively seeks out Chairman Kong, explaining the hierarchical relationship between her and James, and also showing him the goods she has in hand. At this time, Chairman Kong realizes that James is just a middleman who earns the price difference. To ensure safety, Chairman Kong still prefers to buy drugs from James, but he doesn't have the goods readily available. Chairman Kong threatens James to quickly get the goods, otherwise, he will switch to cooperate with Unsu. James has worked hard to plan for many years, and success is right in front of his eyes. He doesn't want to give up, but the closer he gets to success, the more troubles he encounters. James and his brother plan that as long as they hold more shares of Chairman Kang's company, they can manipulate the entire company. Unexpectedly, Chairman Kong suddenly sells off the shares, making the cost for them to manipulate the company increase by 1 billion won. James's brother believes that this is an impossible task and wants to give up. He also advises James not to prove himself like this, and sooner or later, the family will forgive him for his mistakes. But James has always been unwilling. Whenever he thinks about being framed 6 years ago, he can't help but want to tear Chairman Kong into pieces. Turns out that James was originally a rich young master. One day, he and his classmate happened to participate in Chairman Kang's party. Taking advantage of his status and position, Chairman Kong forced the classmate to drink a glass of alcohol mixed with drugs. The classmate had to drink it all. The drug was too strong, and the classmate immediately collapsed to the ground, vomiting and convulsing. James noticed something was wrong, intending to save his friend, but was forced by Chairman Kong to drink some alcohol that had been drugged. Immediately, he felt his head was no longer conscious. When he woke up, his classmate was dead, and he was arrested by the police. The police found drug ingredients in James's body and insisted that he was the murderer of his classmate. James tried his best to explain, but in the face of this so-called truth, even his family didn't believe him. James felt hopeless about the future and wanted to end his life in frustration and despair. But then he accidentally saw on TV that the real culprit was Chairman Kong, who was safely answering interviews from the media. A fire of anger ignited in his heart. From that moment on, the plan for revenge began to brew in James's mind. After getting out of prison, the first thing he did was find his brother, telling him his plan to help the family regain its glory. This plan needs 8 billion won. Since then, during the day, James is a dedicated art teacher, and at night, he lurks in the shadows, starting the drug business. To get back what was lost, no matter how difficult, he will not give up. After completely cutting off contact with James, Unsu begins to plan her escape. She calculates the detailed costs of going abroad for her daughter and Doojin, totaling 2 billion won. That's why she thought of cooperating with Chairman Kong, who is the only one who can buy such a large amount of goods in one go. Little did she know that as she was preparing her escape plan, danger was quietly approaching. Doojin goes to the hospital for a checkup, and the results are not optimistic. When leaving the hospital, he accidentally sees the mother of his classmate being taken to the hospital. He suddenly remembers that when the young police officer found him to ask about the situation, he specifically mentioned his mother. Doojin realizes that there may be some connection between Unsu and the mother of the classmate. Returning home, Unsu has no time to care about Doojin's condition, only busying herself with packing. Doojin is worried that something will happen to Unsu, so he keeps asking. Unsu doesn't want to tell the truth, and her emotions become more and more agitated. She only hopes that Doojin will follow her arrangements and quickly take her daughter abroad. As for the rest, she will definitely explain it clearly to him when she has the opportunity. Unsu rushes out. Do-jin becomes more and more uneasy, so he searches everywhere. Finally, he finds the drugs Unsu hid in the car. Realizing that Unsu is engaged in illegal trading, Do-jin is extremely shocked. Feelings of self-blame and regret intertwine in his head. If it weren't for him being sick, Unsu would never have risked doing something illegal. In another scene, So-hyun's younger brother has woken up from his coma. He sneaks into Unsu's house to take revenge. He remembers very clearly that the person driving the car that hit him that night was Unsu. But Unsu was not at home at that time. So-hyun's younger brother has taken a photo of Unsu's family of 3. He goes to school to monitor Sue. Seeing the warm scene of Unsu and her daughter, he can't help but remember his sister, his eyes turning red. If it weren't for Unsu, his sister would probably still be living happily with him, and he wouldn't have to be alone in this world. So-hyun's younger brother is determined to make Unsu pay for her sins with blood, so that she can also taste the feeling of losing a loved one. He follows Sue all the way, discovering that she has accidentally become a drug dealer. When Sue completes the last order and prepares to go home, So-hyun's younger brother kidnaps her and calls Unsu. At this time, Unsu has just received a call from Chairman Kong, thinking contentedly that as long as she gets through tonight, she will have enough money for her husband and daughter to go abroad. Therefore, she hangs up on her daughter's call. At the same time, because he didn't gain anything from Unsu, Taegu is afraid of exposure and frames the young police officer, saying that he took bribes from the Phantom organization and provided information to the other party. The young police officer is therefore taken away for investigation. When the prosecutor presents all the evidence, he can't defend himself even with 100 mouths. In his heart, he has completely understood that the only explanation is that Taegu deliberately set him up. This redundant action of Taegu also makes the young police officer's long-standing doubts suddenly become clear. From beginning to end, Taegu is the mastermind behind everything. The young police officer couldn't restrain his anger. The person he has always respected and regarded as a role model has long betrayed the organization and become a corrupt police officer. When he meets Taegu again, he rushes straight to punch him. Taegu is not afraid of a novice at all, threatening him that he had better shut his mouth obediently. If he still wants to receive his pension and wants his family to live in peace, don't pursue it. For the sake of his family, the young police officer chooses to remain silent. Taegu originally thought that as long as he solved the young police officer and burned all the evidence related to Unsu, he could sleep soundly. Unexpectedly, the mother of a classmate, because of drug use, had her name ruined. She didn't think it through and chose to commit suicide. The classmate also couldn't raise her head in school because of this. Seeing the weak mother on the hospital bed, this classmate put all the blame on Sue. One day, she sees Sue and her best friend happily receiving their part-time salary. Curious, she secretly follows Sue and also takes pictures of all her actions of delivering drugs. That night, after following Sue for a whole day, the classmate went to the police station to report the case. When Taegu sees that the person in the photos that the classmate took is Sue, he laughs angrily. If he wants to keep the secret that Unsu is selling drugs from being discovered, he will have to sink deeper and deeper, constantly abusing his power to clean up the mess for Unsu. After hearing the news that So-hyun's younger brother has woken up and disappeared, the young police officer immediately checks the surveillance camera. He finds that this person is moving very urgently, as if wanting to go somewhere. From there, he speculates that So-hyun's younger brother intends to avenge his brother. The person that the police officer suspects first is Unsu, so he searches everywhere worriedly. At the same time, James is waiting in front of Unsu's house to get back the drugs. Unexpectedly, he accidentally witnesses Do-jin, Unsu's husband, trying to destroy them. These drugs are James's only hope for revenge, so he disregards being exposed and immediately rushes into the house to stop Do-jin. At this time, Do-jin understands why Unsu and James are often together. Turns out that they are carrying out an illegal transaction. All his previous questions about his wife have been answered. Along with that is his anger towards James for leading his wife onto the wrong path. Do-jin hates the drug that has ruined Unsu and insists on destroying it. James is extremely angry, thinking that everything is Do-jin's fault. If Do-jin hadn't gone bankrupt, if Do-jin hadn't contracted a terminal illness, then Unsu would never have had to risk her life like that. Even though what James said is true, Do-jin is determined to call the police. In a fit of anger, James knocks Do-jin unconscious and steals all the drugs. He originally intended to leave immediately, but accidentally heard the call for help from Su-ae, their daughter. Su-ae is in danger, and James can't ignore it. He rushes to the location that Su-ae sent to rescue her. At this time, So-hyun's younger brother is preparing to inject drugs into Su-ae. He believes that only by ruining Su-ae can Unsu live in pain. Su-ae is tied up tightly. While the kidnapper is searching for drugs, she secretly calls her mother for help. However, at that time, Unsu was doing a deal with a man with the last name Kong and hung up the phone in annoyance, even turning off her phone. When Chairman Kong lays out 2 billion in cash in front of Unsu, she is overjoyed and speechless. She firmly believes that this is the shortcut to happiness, unaware that her daughter is in danger. Chairman Kong looks at Unsu's inexperienced appearance and can't help but sneer in his heart. He agrees to give the money on the condition that Unsu reveal James's background. Unsu happily agrees, even feeling lucky that James never revealed any important information to her. She honestly says that she doesn't know anything about James. Feeling cheated, Chairman Kong angrily calls his subordinates, not only wanting to rob the goods, but also not wanting to let her take the money. Fortunately, Unsu has prepared herself. She warns Chairman Kong that unless he kills her, he shouldn't even think about touching her. Unsu's sharp eyes make Chairman Kong hesitate. She gets the money and leaves. After getting in the car, Unsu hurriedly turns on her phone and sees her daughter's message for help. She immediately panics. Su-ae's situation is extremely critical. So-hyun's younger brother is going crazy, wanting to inject drugs into her. Su-ae desperately resists, but her pleas can't move him. Just then, the young police officer arrives in time and temporarily stops the actions of perpetrator. But unfortunately, the police officer is no match for him and is knocked down after only a few moves. Seeing this, Su-ae quickly tries to run away but is caught again. Just as So-hyun's younger brother is about to continue to attack Su-ae, James breaks down the door and rushes in. When he sees James clearly, So-hyun's younger brother realizes that this is one of the people who kidnapped him and his brother in the past. Anger erupts and he attacks like crazy. Seeing James gradually losing ground, in the moment before being strangled to death, the young police officer, who has just woken up, shouts, reminding James to attack his unhealed wound. Thanks to that, James has a chance to breathe. In a panic, Su-ae runs away and accidentally bumps into Tae-gu waiting outside the door. From the moment he sees Su-ae, a new plan has sprung up in this police officer's heart. When Unsu runs to the police station in panic, she only sees her daughter injured. Among her two partners, James's face is full of scratches, and Tae-gu is the one in charge of this case. Unsu immediately realizes that she has been played. Sure enough, Tae-gu takes out the drugs from Su-ae's bag. Unsu is shocked to see them. She can't believe that her daughter has accidentally become her drug delivery person. Even though Su-ae doesn't know what she is delivering as drugs, this matter has been linked to the law. Tae-gu uses this to threaten Unsu. Unsu humbly begs Tae-gu to spare her daughter, promising repeatedly that she will never sell drugs again. But Tae-gu is an experienced man. He sees the endless greed in Unsu's eyes and knows for sure that she can't really stop. Finally, Unsu admits that at first, she sold drugs to treat her husband. But after enjoying a life of luxury, her thoughts have changed. She also wants to live a superior life, wanting to live in a big house, living like a rich person. Seeing that Unsu has seen her inner self clearly, Tae-gu uses the strategy of giving both the stick and the carrot. He tells her that as soon as she walks out of here, her life will completely collapse. Her daughter will have to go to a reformatory, and her husband will die within a year because he doesn't have the money to continue treatment. Tae-gu will also investigate Unsu because she has a huge income from unknown sources, and finally, her identity as a drug dealer will be made public. Her whole family will not be able to hold their heads up. Unsu is unwilling to let everything she has risked to get finally fall apart. She neither wants to give up the benefits that are already in her hands nor wants to fall into the end of a broken home. James, who is also unwilling, quietly looks at Unsu with a lonely and disappointed expression. He has made a bold decision. He actively confesses his past, as if to express his sincerity in wanting to cooperate, and invites Unsu to join hands to eliminate Tae-gu. Unsu, who is racking her brains to find a way to solve the difficulty, is suddenly awakened. Instead of sitting and waiting for death, waiting for Tae-gu to turn her into a scapegoat to take all the drugs and money, why not take the initiative to attack, pushing Tae-gu to his death? The two of them become partners again. James bribes a group of thugs, so that Unsu brings the money and drugs to Tae-gu as agreed. He then takes the opportunity to have people rush out to knock Taegu unconscious, then quietly throws him into the sea for the fish to eat. Unsu goes home to prepare everything. Then Doojin returns from the hospital to stop her. He doesn't want to see his wife sink deeper and deeper into the wrong path, and begs her not to get involved with drugs anymore. Unsu looks at Doojin's appearance as if he is standing on the side of justice, and all the resentment she has been suppressing for so long completely erupts. She criticizes Doojin as the source of all sins. He is the one who pushed her into the abyss. Over the years, she has let Doojin spend all the money to enthusiastically help his family and friends, and she used to think that it was his special kindness. Every time Doojin caused trouble, she secretly took care of the whole family. But in the end, when Doojin fell ill, no one reached out to help. Unsu can't help but blame Doojin for making her bear too much. Doojin never thought that such hurtful words could come out of Unsu's mouth. He only feels that his wife has changed. Seeing that he can't stop Unsu from committing a crime, Doojin decides to sacrifice himself for the greater good, taking out his phone to call the police. In a panic, Unsu pushes Doojin. His head hits a rock hard, blood flowing profusely. Unsu doesn't even call an ambulance for her husband and hurriedly drives away. In her heart, she thinks that as long as she gets through today, everything will return to normal. So, she resolutely goes to the meeting point. After handing over all the drugs and money to Taegu, Unsu worriedly waits for the people she had arranged to rush out to knock him unconscious. But the people James hired still haven't appeared, and their phones have been turned off. At the same time, Taegu, dissatisfied that Unsu sold to Chairman Kong at too low a price, loses all humanity and goes to Chairman Kang's house to steal the drugs. He warns Unsu to be a little more sensible from now on and not to take any more actions. Seeing that he can't wait for rescue, James decides to take action himself. Unexpectedly, his actions have long been seen through by Taegu. It turns out that Taegu had long installed spyware on both of their phones, knowing all their actions like the back of his hand. The two people's conspiracy has been exposed. Taegu has no intention of leaving anyone alive. As long as he says that it was justified self-defense, even if James and Unsu die, no one will hold him responsible. James holds Taegu back, telling Unsu to run away quickly. Unsu wants to call the police, but can't bear to give up the drugs and money. Finally, she makes a crazy decision, turning around and coming back. When James and Taegu are fighting fiercely, Taegu finally puts the gun to James's head. Just as he is preparing to end this war, Unsu drives over. The headlights shine straight, making both unable to open their eyes. James immediately understands Unsu's intention and quickly dodges aside. Taegu is unable to dodge and is sent flying by Unsu's car. Unsu is extremely tense, but when she sees that Taegu is still breathing, she is relieved. She hurriedly urges James to leave quickly. But James stares at Taegu lying sprawled on the ground, his eyes burning with hatred and cruelty. Over the years, he has had to bear the name of a murderer, endure countless contemptuous gazes and betrayals, and even his relatives have abandoned him. Letting Taegu survive is a threat. As long as he is alive, his revenge plan can collapse at any time. James clenches his fist tightly, his nails wanting to pierce through his palm. In his head, there is only the thought of eradicating the roots. However, Unsu's words are like a bucket of cold water poured straight on his anger. James's original purpose in revenge was to prove his innocence. If his hands are stained with blood because of revenge, then all his previous efforts will become meaningless. Unsu has come up with a win-win plan for James, not harming Taegu's life, but only using threats to control him. At the same time, James is leisurely sitting in Taegu's office, preparing to confess. When he wakes up in the hospital and learns about this, Taegu disregards the wound on his body, struggling to run to the office. Faced with James's flippant attitude, he is furious. James says that he wants to confess to Taegu, starting from the fact that he and Unsu received the blackmail message. At first, Taegu thought that with his ability, he could make everyone disbelieve James's words. He would still keep his police position and his beautiful image in the eyes of his colleagues, until James throws out a video, clearly recording his dark past. Taegu immediately hesitates. He doesn't dare to gamble the rest of his life with these drug dealers. He still has to fight for custody of his children and continue to live. Finally, Taegu agrees to James's request, stopping the investigation of Unsu's drug trafficking case. Unsu quickly books plane tickets to Japan and contacts a treatment facility there. But James plans to continue the drug business to earn enough money to complete his revenge plan. James originally intended to split the remaining drugs and money with Unsu, but when he learns that he urgently needs 1 billion won, Unsu gives him all 1 billion that she received from Mr. Kong. James is extremely grateful. With this money, his brother will successfully acquire the shares of the Kong family's company, reaching the point where he can overthrow the family. But the joy doesn't last long. Mr. Kong suddenly leads people into the house, exposing the two brothers' conspiracy in front of everyone. Turns out that Taegu still hates James for threatening him. He also knows that James has been hiding for many years, just waiting for the day to get revenge. As long as he exposes James's conspiracy, he can make James taste the anger he is suffering. More importantly, a ruthless person like Mr. Kong will definitely take revenge on James cruelly. He doesn't need to take action, but can still sit back and enjoy the results. The truth is as he predicted. As soon as he learns James's real identity, Mr. Kong has people investigate him thoroughly. When he breaks into James's house and sees the wall full of his pictures, Mr. Kong immediately orders his men to erase all traces of information related to him, including the video James saved on his computer, recording him taking drugs. After preparing everything, Mr. Kong makes a phone call to the police, pushing James in front of the police. James, who knows nothing, is still in the classroom saying goodbye to his students. The police suddenly rush in, arresting him for drug trafficking. The news of James's arrest has caused a storm in the parents' chat group at the school. Unsu, who has always appeared as James's nanny, of course, also becomes a suspect. Unsu is extremely panicked, wanting to take Doojin and her daughter away immediately, but Doojin doesn't want to go anymore. Not long ago, Doojin's best friend, knowing that his whole family was about to go to Japan, panicked and came to stop him. On the night Doojin and Unsu argued, the best friend accidentally saw Unsu hurriedly picking up the scattered pills, and immediately understood what she was relying on to treat Doojin. The best friend wants Doojin to stay, not to abandon her. But Doojin has decisively said that he wants to be with his family. In a hurry, the best friend wants to say her feelings for Doojin, but the words can't come out. Doojin actually knew about his best friend's feelings long ago. He said bluntly for her not to have any more illusions. Unsu treats her as a friend, but he knows her true face. It turns out that when Unsu was still an intern at the bank, her performance was very outstanding. But in the end, she was not kept as a full-time employee, all because her best friend used her charm to seduce the big boss, causing Unsu's opportunity to be ruined. The best friend still holds a glimmer of illusion, thinking that Doojin has not exposed her because he has feelings for her. But Doojin bluntly said that the reason he didn't say it was because he was afraid that Unsu would have to suffer a double shock, losing both her career and friendship at the same time. The best friend has always wanted to steal everything from Unsu, but in the end, she realizes that she is no different from a joke. All the dirty things she has done, Doojin knows everything. She no longer has a chance to steal Doojin. A deep disappointment envelopes her. From that moment on, Doojin changed his mind. He hopes that Unsu can unload the burden on her shoulders and live a decent life. Doojin advises Unsu to surrender. Even if she has to face punishment, he will always be by her side, never leaving her. No matter how difficult and hard the future is, as long as the whole family is together, everything will pass. Doojin's warmth makes Unsu burst into tears, and finally she decides to surrender. However, the unexpected appearance of Taegu blocks their path. Previously, James had guessed that after being threatened by him, Taegu would not sit still and wait for death. He found the young police officer and reminded him to investigate the huge amount of cash that Taegu was hiding. Based on the clues James provided, the young police officer sneaks into Taegu's house. While sitting blankly on his bed, an idea suddenly flashes in his mind. He tears off a corner of the wall, and a wall full of cash, totaling 800 million won, appears before his eyes. The young police officer immediately reports to the prosecutor's office, and they quickly open an investigation into Taegu. Faced with the accusations of his subordinate, Taegu stubbornly denies, even lying that he doesn't know anything and that everything was framed by others. The prosecutor doesn't believe his excuses. The truth is in front of his eyes is the evidence to convict him. Finally, Taegu is sentenced. On the way to the hospital under the escort of his former subordinate, he suddenly asks about an old matter. He was once punished because dirty money was found in his car, and he always suspected that Taegu did it. This time, Taegu doesn't deny it but admits it straightforwardly. He even shamelessly says that at that time, the former subordinate's family urgently needed money, and he had provided it to him, so it was only natural for him to take the blame for him. Looking at the former leader he once respected, now becoming so shameless, resentment surged in the heart of the former subordinate. But thinking of the years of friendship, he couldn't bear to blame him, only advising him to go to prison and reform well. Taegu is unwilling to fail like this. He secretly takes the paper clip he had hidden under the seat, quietly opening the handcuffs. He robs his former subordinate's gun, preventing him from escaping. The driver, because of distraction, crashed into the fence, and the car immediately became chaotic. A gunshot suddenly rings out. The former subordinate is shot in the neck and dies on the spot. At this time, Taegu has completely lost his humanity. With his head full of blood, he escapes from the car and becomes a fugitive criminal. In desperation, Taegu first seeks out Unsu, just as Dujin is preparing to take her to surrender. Dujin is worried that Taegu will harm Unsu, so he immediately blocks in front of her. Taegu punches Dujin, causing him to fall. Unsu looks at the police officer, his body covered in blood, his hand holding the gun, and knows that he may lose control at any time. To protect herself, she actively hands over the money and drugs. Just as Taegu is about to leave, he unexpectedly meets Sua just stepping in the door. A vicious plan quickly forms in his mind. Losing all reason, Taegu sees that Unsu intends to escape with her family, and his anger surges. In his eyes, the person who ruined everything for him didn't deserve to be happy. He hurriedly fires a shot towards Unsu. Dujin uses all his remaining strength to shield Unsu and is unfortunately shot. Just then, Sua pushes the door open and enters. Taegu still hasn't stopped, switching his target to Sue. Seeing this, Unsu rushes in front of Taegu to protect her daughter. In the moment Taegu pulls the trigger, he discovers that the gun is out of bullets. He looks at Unsu meaningfully, believing that he has ruined her family and that such an ending is fair enough. Then, he leaves triumphantly. Unsu and her daughter are immersed in pain. However, just as Dujin's funeral ends, Unsu is arrested by the police on suspicion of drug trafficking. Sue, having just lost her father, hears the news that her mother is a drug dealer and finds it difficult to accept. She even refuses to meet Unsu, stubbornly believing that Unsu is the indirect murderer of Dujin. Unsu is in extreme pain but can't explain. In the interrogation room, she and James are confronted on the spot. James doesn't give Unsu a chance to speak, taking all the blame himself. He knows Unsu's difficult situation and also understands her feelings for her daughter. Based on James's testimony, Unsu's sentence is reduced. The young police officer is still unwilling, searching everywhere but still not finding Taegu. So he comes up with a bold idea, to have Unsu and James lure Taegu out. Unsu quickly agrees. She is eager to atone for her sins and even more eager to take revenge with her own hands. Not long after, Taegu learns that Unsu and James have kidnapped his son, and without hesitation, he rushes straight into the trap that the young police officer has set. Seeing his former colleagues all pointing guns at him, Taegu realizes that he has been tricked. Unsu deliberately gets close to him, telling him that the child is about to go abroad with his mother. Taegu's motive for committing crimes was originally to win custody of his son, and now all his efforts have been in vain. In a fit of excitement, he controls Unsu and drives away. On the way, Unsu takes advantage of Taegu's carelessness, pulls out a weapon and stabs him hard. The two struggle fiercely in the speeding car. Finally, the car loses control and crashes into the fence. Unsu takes advantage of Taegu's unconsciousness and escapes. Waking up, Taegu quickly chases after her. Just as he is about to kill Unsu, James arrives in time. Seeing that the situation is about to get out of control, the young police officer fires a shot to stop him. Taegu is shot and falls into the water, his whereabouts temporarily unknown. After that, Unsu and James begin to serve their sentences. During her year in prison, Unsu has performed very well. Every day, she insists on writing letters to her daughter. She doesn't expect her daughter to forgive her, but only hopes that Sue can remove the knot in her heart, continue to complete her studies, and pursue her passion for painting. After being released from prison, Sue always avoids Unsu. At this time, her best friend has become the legal guardian of her daughter. Unable to contain her longing for her daughter, Unsu takes the initiative to meet her best friend. But unexpectedly, the other party bluntly admits that shortly after Doo-jin passed away, she was the one who reported Unsu for drug trafficking. Faced with her best friend's betrayal, Unsu asks with some unwillingness whether the other person has ever really considered her a friend. Her best friend's answer makes her blood run cold. It turns out that she really cherishes Unsu, but it is also because of that excessive jealousy that she wants to replace her position. Unsu's life returns to peace. Not long after, James is also released from prison. He is grateful for Unsu's help in the past, so he gives her all the remaining money. Unsu decides to start over, selling the old house and moving to a new place. When she sees on TV the news that Taegu's body has been found, and also learns that the cause of death was sepsis from a leg wound, she finally couldn't help but smile. She has avenged Doo-jin. At the same time, James's revenge plan is about to be completed. Mr. Kong thought that putting James in prison would allow him to sleep soundly. Just as he is triumphantly speaking at the launch of a new product, a video of him using drugs is suddenly played. James even appears in front of him with a challenging look. Angered to embarrassment, Mr. Kong threatens James, declaring that even with the video, he can't bring him down. But James calmly replies that releasing the video is not to bring him down immediately, but to let Kong Group protect itself by abandoning him. Events unfold as James predicted. Public opinion is rising, and Mr. Kong is confined by the group. He pleads with his grandfather for help but fails. Also, while under the influence of drugs, he kills his girlfriend, completely becoming the center of the public storm. Even the old case from 10 years ago has been reopened for retrial. To protect Kong Group, in the end, his grandfather chooses to abandon him. After going to prison, Mr. Kong still secretly uses drugs and finally dies suddenly in prison. James has finally completed his revenge, cleared his name, and can return home honorably. Just when he thinks that a happy life is about to begin, he accidentally discovers in the safe at home a secret agreement between his father and Kong Group. At this time, James realizes that his father knew from the beginning that he was framed, but for the sake of profit, he chose to sacrifice him, making him suffer injustice for 10 years. The revenge he has endured for so long has now become a joke. The betrayal of his father has drained all of James's strength. He wanders aimlessly to the rooftop, his eyes empty, silently reflecting on his ridiculous life. At the same time, Unsu discovers a package of drugs that has not been confiscated under the blanket. She calmly throws all the drugs into the toilet, but her finger hesitates on the flush button. In her head, the ugly face of the boss at the part-time job appears. Unsu faces a choice: continuing to step on the path of crime or returning to a normal life. The film ends here. If you like it, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to follow the latest videos. Goodbye.